Hello, this is Shane here. Just wanted to touch base. It's been a very long time since I've done a video, and I apologize for that. Been so busy with work and family life and building this truck, and just had so much go on essentially these last 6 months. I have a boy out in West Point at the military academy there. We had a lot to do to get him there, so essentially this truck's been on hold for a little bit, even though I've been working on it now for the last couple months. I just haven't had time to make a video, so I apologize for that, and hopefully everyone understands. But I'm gonna do just kind of a little swipe here. This is a 1972 F250 custom, and custom in many ways. It's just a custom as part of the tag that Ford put on it. It was a factory air-conditioned truck. It had 390. It was two-wheel drive with a C6 transmission. I've done a video or two on this already. Just wanted to kind of catch you guys up. I have converted it to four-wheel drive using Battleborn brakes, Super Duty swap with the standard height. So I didn't want to do the extra height. I wanted to do it more about the height that a high boy would be, maybe a little bit taller than a high boy. But it's got a sway bar system. It's got matching 2008 F250 Super Dana 60 up front, and a Sterling 10.5 with 373 gearing. And it does have the factory locker in the back, the track lock that Ford put out. Anyways, essentially the truck is done. It's fully mobile. What I did differently on this truck that I didn't do with the 1971 F100 heavy duty special that I built last year is I converted it to 8 by 6.5. So it does have matching. It's got these US wheel 17-inch 17 by 8 wheels, and this is it's about a 34.5-inch tire in total to height. It's closer to an actual 35-inch. Haven't hooked up everything. This is the vintage air kit. I was going to use the factory air box, and I'll show you here in a second. The big factory air box that goes down here. I was going to use that, but as I dug into mine and kind of investigated some things, it just had a lot of problems with it. Wasn't really happy. It had some broken plastic grades up front, and I just didn't feel like it was going to match this build correctly. So I went ahead, and just like I did on my 1971, I put the vintage air heater box in with factory air. And as you can see, everything's just kind of in there. I have not finished wiring things. In fact, this is the Coyote OBD2 port. I just have everything just kind of sitting here because here, later today, I'm going to test fire this truck. It has not been fired, but I will be test driving it shortly, or test firing it shortly. I have a second skin, sound deadening, and thermal protection, as well as some kill mat. I just kind of put some different pieces. I wasn't sure if I was going to do the whole floor, just partial pieces, but I ended up doing the whole floor, and back behind the firewall, and then put a new firewall pad in, an insulation pad as well. There's the vintage air controls, heater controls. It does have a TMI Sport with white stitching to match the truck. Dash pad on there. These door panels were blue from the factory. I sanded them down and painted them black. And same with the column. Just wanted everything to be kind of white on black. I think it's more appropriate for this build. Let me show you what I did to the gas tank here. haven't quite finished the passenger side things. I've got a lot of this body stuff I want to finish up with. It's been all coated with an epoxy, a Summit Racing epoxy chassis shield, and zinc enriched primer as well, epoxy. And here's a spoiler. As you guys know, I usually throw Coyotes in here. This is a Gen 2 out of a 2017 Mustang GT. Has less than 30,000 miles on it. It's a very clean motor. I'm very impressed with it. I'm running Battleborn brakes, Super Duty vacuum brake booster with their massive cylinder. And what's different from my 1971 heavy duty special that I built last year, I'm running soft hoses. So if you ever need to pull this off, it's easier to move things around without having to re-bleed the brakes again. I'll show you the gas tank in just a second, but I want to show you this setup. This has turned out so much cleaner than Ford Racing's control pack wiring that they have with their huge fuse block and everything. This is power by the hours, Coyote swapped harness kit. And it comes with the little fuse 200 amp right there and the red cabling alongside of it. But I was able to mount it right to the factory OEM battery box and make for a much cleaner install. And there's less harness rolling everywhere. And I've got the H-pipe that's required for the H-pipe bypass that's required for the Coyote. Vintage air heater control valve in there. And everything else is, like I said, all hooked up. Got a Sandin SD7 air conditioning compressor down there. And I've got power by the hours. Serpentine belt system on. It just needed to go with this truck in order to clear the motor mounts and everything. And you can't really see the motor mounts or anything, but it runs a Super Duty steering box out of 2007 plus. The exhaust is running the Ford F-150 factory Coyote manifolds that have been Cerakoted, and then a full 2.5 inch exhaust system. I'm going to show you a little bit more of this interior. I'm getting ready. I have two wires to hook up, a key positive and the I think it's the hot at all times start wire here from Power by the Hours harness. And like I said, I haven't finished wiring everything, but for the most part, everything's mostly in. The pedals hooked up, and yeah, it's ready to go here. I got to finish the steering column some, put a new bezel here for the shift bezel. Got everything lined up with the 6R80 transmission. Got the Dana 24 four-wheel drive transfer case linkage all hooked up to the shifter here. It's a custom design that I built up to mount to the 6R80 two-wheel drive, since this is a divorced Dana 24. And so the gas tank, I wanted to use the factory gas tank. There's multiple reasons why. One, it's factory. It's easy to replace. I'm using the factory cinder hole. I drilled another 1 3/4 inch hole here alongside of it and used the same factory standard 5-bolt pattern there to hook up my pickup tube and return tube here. The pump is not inside the tank. Decided to mount it on the frame. It's a nice Holly pump that I put in. The last one I did, I put a Phytech pump system in here with the return and the pickup. It worked really well, but it made for really tight bend right here, and I decided I didn't want to do that, so I went with just a pickup tube and a return tube that drops all the way down inside the tank, all the way to the bottom. Anyways, so that's pretty much that setup. I haven't put that door panel system on. I did wrap the inside of the doors with kill mat. It's very clean. There's no rust down there at the bottom. It had a little bit of surface rust. I etched it and killed the rust and then coated it, and then put the kill mat over the top once everything was all said and dry. It's a very clean truck. It had no rust spots anywhere on it. It did have a nasty dent in the bed that looked like a very small dent. I did drop the exhaust out right here, side exhaust, 2.5. Comes in right through there. You can see it's nice and clean. Again, Sterling with the 10.5. Sterling 10.5, 373 gearing, factory track log, and this has been converted to 8x6.5 bolt pattern using the factory Sterling 10.5-inch hubs that I pressed out all the studs and drilled, welded, and then re-drilled it 8x6.5. And I did one set, and then I had a company that sells trucks on Bring a Trailer called Fairyland Automotive. They sent me a set too. I wanted to try theirs out, see if they did anything a little differently. Our hubs were essentially matched, but anyways, they press in little plugs inside the old wheel stud holes, and then TIG weld it, and then re-drill it 8x6.5. But this was a nasty. On my other video I showed there was a little dent here with some cracking. I started removing all the Bondo to get everything freed up, and it ended up being quite a dent. Not like a big crushed indent, but a really bad crease all the way across. So I pounded on that forever. Finally got it out. Used very little body filler and got everything filled up. And right now it's just kind of in sanding stage. I'm gonna have to paint this bottom half of this bed to match in Wimbledon white. Again, there's the 2.5-inch. I got my vacuum down there, excuse me, but there's the 2.5-inch exhaust. It ran down same setup as the other side. And I will flash down here so you can kind of see what I got going. I've got stainless. This is a aluminized 2.5-inch exhaust pipe. I decided to go aluminized. It's easier to work with than stainless, and it lasts just as long. It really is good stuff. Anyways, there's the Dana 24 mounted up there with Battleborn brakes, transfer case mounting kit, and I put it right before the rear cab mounts. And what that did is it split the difference, because usually it's a very long front drive shaft and a pretty short rear one. It's exactly 50 inches on both sides, both front and rear. I think it's like 49.5 to be precise, but it really did turn out. And then it has the intermediate drive shaft over there into the 6R80 that drives that Dana 24. And then I have an H pipe that crosses over the exhaust. Couldn't do an X pipe and then have the exhaust go tie into the front of the wheels. It just wasn't any room for that. So I decided to run an H pipe, which supposedly gives you a little bit more low end torque, which the Coyote does need. So I went ahead and did that route. Again, it's got the vintage air conditioning kit. This is the condenser. Up here between this little section, I will mount in a transmission cooler as well for the 6R80. Haven't finished that up. Haven't decided if I'm going to use the factory box or not, air box. It does fit in here actually quite nice. It's got a bevel. Anyways, I haven't quite decided. You usually make a little bracket here and weld this up, and then you can unscrew it and mount it and remove it as you need to. It's got an electric Black Magic fan from Flexolite, using the OEM radiator, which is very different. I've never seen one like this that had the mounting tabs off of studs. Every picture I have of this truck before I got it had this style radiator in it. So I kept it, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna use it again. I have multiple aluminum style like Champion radiators that I may put in if I don't like it. I will have the factory Mustang cover over this, and everything clears just fine. But I'm not going to put that up until everything's test fired and ran. I've got oil in it. I just topped off the oil in the transmission. We're going to be test firing this pretty soon. I got to put fuel in the tank. I got to wire up those 2 wires from the control pack wiring from Power by the Hour. And in order to use Power by the Hour's fuse block and wiring, you need to have your own ECU. And this ECU came with this Mustang motor and transmission. So everything's matched. Everything's matched. And other than, like I said, I use Power by the Hour's alternator that reverses it and then runs all the serpentine belt and then runs down the SD7 air conditioning compressor. Everything works pretty good. And there's lots of clearance here. I'm very happy with the clearance. A little bit cleaner. And the motor does sit lower than it would normally sit if I ran like a Fat Fender Garage mounting kit on the 2-wheel drive. It would set this motor up higher, but because where the transfer case, the pitch is a little too much on the motor. This is exactly 3 degree pitch all the way back, even through the transfer case. So everything's matched just fine. For now, the harness is just kind of running through the factory air hole in the firewall right there. I have a Seal It kit with a firewall grommet going in right there, and that'll kind of tie and clean up that real nicely. And everything else, I didn't drill any holes. I used all the factory mounting positions for everything. I've got all the fuel lines ran, and I'm running, like I said, Hollies. So there's the Wix. I only ever use Wix brand. It is the best of the GM LS style fuel filter regulator. It's essentially a fuel filter that regulates the pressure to be about 58 psi. And then there's the Holly pump all wired up, and I have not finished wiring. There's the factory harness, the frame harness that goes all the way up for the rear tail lights. I haven't finished all that stuff. This side of the bed is all clean. No issues here. I showed you the rear bumper. It's got a tow hitch. Everything on this truck is pretty dang clean. Other than that nasty dent on the passenger side, it really turned out very well. I'm not going to put the fenders on or anything like that until after this thing runs and runs smooth. And then we'll go from there. But I just wanted to touch base with you all and do this quick video, quick update. Apologize for the long time. As I said earlier in the video, it has just been a very busy summer and winter now, and it's due to the weather and multiple family events. We just couldn't get any videos out, so just kind of, haven't put the battery in or anything yet, but right now, I'm just finishing up some wiring and getting ready to test fire this in a couple hours. Thanks again, and we'll touch base later. Thanks. Bye. All right. As I mentioned, we're going to do the first fire here. I just was double checking some wiring. I finished kind of putting together the instrument cluster here. Just double checking the power from the switches and so forth. This blue wire from the Power by the Hour switch goes to a key on, which is for the start function. So it just needs 12 volts while you're starting, and then needs to drop off when you turn the switch off. And then this is the hot at all times while it's cranking, not like the Ford control pack. So this just ties in to the ignition switch that has at least the 13 volts when the switch is on in the starting function and stays on the entire time while you're cranking. So essentially this would normally go to like your coil in a typical, push rod V8. It would power on your coil, which then would start the truck and so forth. Anyways, I've double checked everything, got everything kind of buttoned up and ready. and we're going to fire this up and see what we've got. Again, I haven't tried it yet. I'm a little nervous, but let's see what we got here. We got the gauges on right here. Oh. Got oil pressure, got fuel, got voltage. Very nice. Woo, I'm excited. RPMs. Okay, I'm gonna kill this now, and it shut off. That's good. That is a good sign. I got everything wired correctly. Okay, so reason why I'm not gonna let it run any longer than this is I don't have coolant in it. I did not put water or anything. I just wanted to fire it up, make sure it cranks, has oil pressure. The engine sounds good, and it does. So I am very excited about this. This is a very important milestone. One thing I did do today is I put the fender on as well. Made sure power steering was okay, and it is. And I'm just super excited. I did quite a bit of work. I got the new door sills put in, and I used the 1980 to 96 Ford Bronco door seal because it has this compression style. And it locks in, and you don't need to use that nasty glue, and it just works super well. The only negative is on the door threshold, because it's that metal that kind of compresses here. I usually just put the old style seal down below, put an actual intermediate piece inside here, which comes with this. Put it inside so that still seals up and it's still nice and tight, and it just looks real clean. Everything looks real sharp. But I am super excited. This truck fires up. I'm going to put some coolant in it, and we are gonna do some more testing. But again, fires up, good fuel. Good fuel pressure. I did check that with a fuel pressure gauge that I had set up earlier, but don't need to go over that with you. But everything, oh, I'm so excited. It's always good to have a project like this that you've worked really hard on, got innumerous amounts of hours into, and then have it fire right up when you get it wired up. So we're going to continue. I got a couple things I still need to do. Obviously, I need to button up the dash. That's not that big of a deal. But the bigger things that I still need to do is run the transmission cooler. And I'm doing things a little different. I am going to run it up here up front. I'm going to run using the stock lines from the 6R80. I'm going to cut the tubes off and put some transitions in a ferrule and flare onto it to a -8, and then it's going to come up here soft hose and have an ice cooler sitting up here right in front of the AC condenser and so forth. A little bit different than I did with the 1971 heavy duty special, but I did that on purpose because even though I liked the electric fan function, I wanted it right up front, right behind the grills, and just do some testing with it. Everything else is really, other than finish putting everything back together, get the grill on. I've got as I mentioned, that back bed. I need to paint the bottom section of that. I've got some Wimbledon white that we'll be using for that, and we'll just be finishing putting this all back together. Power steering works great. I didn't show you that. I think, I don't know. Here. It's got a breaker right down here, an 80 amp, that runs the Volvo power steering system. There's the system, and I have it disconnected right now just because I'm just going through lots of testing. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this tied up in there, which it's all buttoned up, and it really hides well in there. The fills right here, as I showed you. And then when you just give it key on, it'll prime. You can hear that whine. And the tires move as they should. Anyways, go ahead and kill that. Everything's been checked for leaks. There are none. Everything's really just, like I said, just finishing, buttoning up the instrument cluster. The power steering's already been primed. I got to mount this fender, get the grill back on. While the grill's partially on, get the transmission cooler ran, get coolant filled up in the radiator, get my F250 mix in there, and then just charging the air conditioning and then driving it, doing a lot of testing, just doing the drive. As I mentioned, I ran with soft lines here for the brake booster master cylinders, so that if you ever need to work on either one of these, and not necessarily the master cylinder, but if you ever need to work on the vacuum system, the vacuum pump for the brake booster, you can pull this off with just the 2 bolts, and this is flexible and can move around. Yeah, this is gonna be an awesome truck, and I'm just super excited. Like I said, I learned a lot on this truck and the last one that I built, and the 79 Bronco I did as well. And because I learned so much, I'm just trying to pass that on to you guys as much as possible. Things have really cleaned up nicely. I've with the little fine tuning, and now I've built a few trucks. I really feel I've got a good system here that is going to be very reliable and awesome. Anyways, thanks for touching back with me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and this makes sense to you. If you have any questions, post them. I'll do my best to get back with you. Again, thanks again. Well, just fired it up. Actually got some coolant in it. Yeah, I'm just gonna see how she's running. Got a little smoke coming off the exhaust manifolds from the new coating. The exhaust manifolds were Cerakoted, but some of the exhaust was painted with a ceramic coating just at the beginning where I drilled the holes for the O2 sensors. Just a little bit of smoke coming off, but it's running really good. Coolant's looking good. I'm just letting it burp. That's essentially what you got to do when you fire these old things up. There's a couple ways you can do it. I have a vacuum system you can put on, and it pulls the air out of the radiator. I did it very slowly and just kind of burped it that way. I'm gonna top it off here in a minute once it gets a chance to roll through the heater core and stuff like that. It's all new vintage air kit, so just takes a little bit. Again, just fired it up. It's only been a few minutes, and just wanted to touch base once more, show you the idle of it. It's getting higher in temp, sitting at about, I guess about 150, 160. Voltage is good. Oil pressure's good. Give it a little gas. Oil pressure goes up like you would expect with higher RPMs. Went up to about 5,000 RPMs. Anyways, just want to touch base. Thanks.